Okay, so this is parent-child well spacing optimization in the Fayetteville Shale, and this is our progress update. So far in our project, we have been obtaining well spacing and production data from our friends over at Southwestern Energy. We got some good connections lined up there, and they're very helpful in getting us the data. And we've obtained the data we've needed, and now we're moving into the process of analyzing that data. And we would really like to gain a better understanding of the geology of the Fayetteville Shale and how it affects well spacing. And we're now going to start looking for outside resources such as articles, books, or conferences. And our friends at Southwestern, like I said, have been a huge help to us, but getting some different perspective to compare with our data would be ideal, and it would help legitimize our conclusions for well spacing in the Fayetteville Shale. So we'd like to move into that quickly and move right along into better understanding the well spacing data that we've been given.
Introduction. We learned that typically at Southwestern Energy, their offset wells are at 900 feet for spacing. There was never an extensive study done for obtaining this number, so we wanted to analyze the collected data to obtain a more accurate optimum offset. This 900-foot spacing can change based off the parent cumulative production. The first thing we need was the perpendicular distance between the offset wells in order to complete the study. We were able to contact a GIS employee from Southwestern Energy who wrote a program to find the midpoint of one lateral to the closest point on the other well lateral. This ensures that the perpendicular distance between wells is as highly accurate as possible. When we first received the project, we decided to try to compare the offset wells EUR per foot of CLAT. This is the estimated ultimate recovery normalized per each foot of completed lateral to normalize the data for comparing different completed lateral lengths. As seen from the graph on the right, this is the EUR per CLAT of the parent well and the 3 of the offset wells from that parent. The blue line is the parent well, and we are looking at the EUR per CLAT on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. So to continue, the main issue with comparing the percent difference of these wells EURs is that they are constantly changing. EUR will typically become more stable over time and can change based off of who is calculating it. From this, our main focus turned to the cumulative production during the first 90 days. We were able to obtain a program that gave us the first 90 days of non-zero production, so we were not including days that the well was shut in. The first 90 days of production is a good indicator of how the well will perform in the long run, because typically these natural gas wells will produce 60% of their production in the first year of the well being online.
Okay, so some of our original thoughts, or when we first got this project, is initially we wanted to look at offsets up to 2,000 feet away. And this would include multiple offsets. And as you can see here from the graph on the left, this is all kind of theoretical of what we would expect in these situations. And on the y-axis is the percent reduction in the child's production, so the percent that the child offset well is reduced from the parent well. And on the x-axis is the perpendicular offset distance in feet. And so we kind of wanted to see this step-down effect. As we got further and further away from the parent well, these offset wells would start to perform more and more like that parent well as we got closer to virgin reservoir pressure. However, what we actually saw is that initially we would see a step down in the reduction in child's production, but then after a while that reduction would start to increase actually as we got further away, and this was caused by different offset wells, maybe greater than 1,800, 2,000 feet away, that were causing interference in these wells. So this was making our data very sporadic and very tough to read. From here, we decided that we were only going to look at the closest child on either side of the parent well. We decided we were going to filter out our data by completion type, cluster spacing, and percent in zone, so that all the data points that we were analyzing were statistically relevant. And this actually shifted our focus from the entire Fayetteville Shale to just the west side of the Fayetteville Shale. And the last bullet point here is we're only going to look at the closest or the shortest distance if a child has multiple parents, and this is illustrated from the graphic on the right. So in this situation, we have one child well that was drilled in between two parent wells or older wells. One is 1,200 feet away and the other is 600 feet away. And as you can see from the graphic, this is just kind of a very simple representation of the pressure drawdown in the reservoir as those parent wells increased in age. So as you can see, the drawdown in the parent well that is only 600 foot away from that child well is going to have a greater impact on that child well's production than the parent well at 1,200 foot. So to account for this, we would kind of eliminate the parent-child relationship at 1,200 foot and only take the parent-child relationship at 600 foot to be statistically relevant.
Based off the data that we have already begun to analyze, we've seen several attempts that will not work. To account for errors in comparing production data, we decided to look at the pressure gradients in different wells to see if these would show any correlations. Unfortunately, this did not show anything, and we had to shift our focus to other ideas. Another idea was to look at the EUR 2 months before and 2 months after the child's first production date, to account for the constant changing EUR. This also did not show anything statistically relevant. Next, we wanted to isolate different pilot areas in the Fayetteville Shale to try to compare wells that were in similar reservoirs. Having similar reservoir characteristics would hopefully eliminate the need for any detailed analysis. Here we took all the wells in Cove Creek pilot area and then grouped together the Yogi and Yellowstone pilot areas to compare the wells. We decided to focus on these two specific areas to give us enough wells to show some correlations. If conclusive correlations are found, this can be expanded to the entire Fayetteville Shale.